You're not actually naked. You never actually were. You're just finally showing up without all those filters, without all the sexy costumes, without all of the excuses. No more polished talking points, no more perfection, no more overthinking, no more hiding, no more once I get it figured out, then I'm going to do it. Just you. And surprise, you feel more powerful than you ever have in your entire life. You were terrified. You're terrified of the vulnerability, and everything in you said, danger, danger, don't do it. You just knew that if people saw the real you, everything would fall apart and it would all be over. And now you know the truth. Hiding was just simply draining your power. It was taking all of you to pretend to be none of you rather than just simply being you. And it felt like a dream that you could show up as you. You wanted to duck behind the curtain, but now you're standing strong. And because of how much I honor and admire you, this one's for you. Let's talk about your fear of being fully seen and what happens when you finally stop hiding. Hi, my name's Steve Kidd. I am a third-generation minister, international best-selling author of 39 books and counting. I help folks write, publish, market books to bestseller, and everything that goes beyond that. And with the 5,000 that I've worked with over the course of the last 17 years, we've been doing books, and the just unknowable number of people that I've worked with in the last 40 years, what I can tell you is more true than anything is what I'm really here to do is to help you find clarity. I am your clarity architect, the architect of your transformation from invisible to not just visible, but powerful, impactful, and just the amazing you that you were always, 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 always meant to be. I see it in you. And now the cool part about it is you're starting to see it in you too. And I'm just here today more than anything else to celebrate you, to talk about how cool you are, and then to go a little deeper into this whole concept of the terrifying nakedness that we were absolutely just terrified and afraid that once the world saw it, they would never once again want to have anything to do with us. And the truth is that now that we're beginning to show up and show the world who we are, we're starting to actually see just how much people really want the real us. And more importantly, and this is a side benefit, but it's actually the benefit, you get to be you. And it starts to feel good. You start really not just liking, but loving being in your own skin, getting to be you. You get to wake up in the morning and show up in the world as you. Now, that's not to say that we don't put on a collared shirt or shave our hair, shave our face like we did yesterday, or get our hair cut every once in a while, or, things like that, and, maybe ladies, maybe you do makeup, maybe have a whole routine. Okay. And there's still stuff in life that we do because it makes us feel good. But none of it anymore is a mask. None of it anymore is the way that we hide from showing up. And here's the hilarious, terrifying, cool, all of those all rolled up into one part of it. You're doing amazing things. You always have been. Your 20%, 50%, 80%, whatever, outshines everybody else's 110%. It is so much more than everybody does. It's not even like, there's anybody that you see that they're doing and really outshining you. And that's part of why you're getting you're not anymore. You did get away with it, is because you were still doing amazing things in the world. I've worked with many, actually, people who are multimillionaires, even a couple of billionaires, who, even in that massive amount of, really seen or perceived, really is what it was, success, they were still wearing the mask. They were still running around in the sexy costume. And they did wonderfully well with it, but none of it was real. Have you ever noticed, and I think it's cool to watch sometimes, and unfortunately, this is for the most part actresses, and sometimes also female musicians. But unfortunately, it's a downside that happens to females that are in an entertainment field. We'll just call it that, and that's that. I love how Goldie Hawn put it once. She said, there's three levels of an actress's career. There's, the hottie that everybody wants to date. There's district attorney, and then there's grandmother. And that's kind of the three stages of it. And the thing that's cool to watch is when you see an actress that was young and beautiful, and now she's older and still very beautiful, but was young and beautiful and wanted to be that person that the director or the producer, the Harry Weinstein, was trying to get them to take off as many clothes as they could con them into doing. Then they got a little older and they were still really in demand because there was still that sexiness factor. Think Kathleen Turner, when she was, and then she transitioned and she did the voice for Jessica Rabbit. And then later on, she showed back up as that, that kind of mock version of the reality trial of the mom that was the mom that kneecapped the other cheerleader girl. I don't know, maybe you never saw that one, and she then looked mom, but, perfect example of that kind of thing. I think of, what's her name? Jessica Alba, and the transition that she went through from way back when it was Dark Angel that she was in, and all the shows that she's been in, and now. And you're seeing that happen with Scarlett Johansson right now, too. And what happens is they get to that certain level, 35, 40 years old, super old, right? And they're main focus of their career becomes this really cool business that they start. They have, like I saw Cindy Crawford the other day, and she has some kind of makeup or skin rejuvenation thing is what I think it was. I don't know. I don't really pay attention to commercials. I avoid or fast forward through them whenever I can. But it was interesting to see because her, and a thousand other ladies you can think of that were wildly in demand, sex objects, really, some of them even did, spreads in Playboy and things like that, that then they got to that certain age. And even though, and I love how this, relates to our whole naked, seen, and vulnerable and valuable thing, because even though they did all of that nakedness, they did it as the mask of who they really were. And then they got older to the point where people weren't asking them constantly to take their clothes off. And they got to be able to focus on the things that really made a difference to them. And some of them, it isn't businesses. Some of them, I can think of a couple of them. The one that comes to mind is Lisa Whelchel, who you may remember played Blair on Facts of Life. And what she really, really, really leaned into when she got, out of being, a teen, whatever, celebrity, was she really, really got into and really loved being a mom. And later, when she went through a divorce, she really went into, helping women really deal with, having a marriage fail and still feeling good about who they were as a person. And I love all of those different people as examples, because I love seeing the real them finally coming out. You see, the world told you that, going on, I don't know, OnlyFans, whatever, taking off as many clothes as you feel like, or showing pictures of your food, or doing all the other things that people do to become quote unquote influencers, those were the things that were good for you. And that was what was going to make you the massively wild success. And unfortunately, you made a lot of money doing it. And you wrapped your whole entire self-esteem and everything that you were in that person that you were at 18 or 20 or 25, or whatever age was your quote unquote perfect age. And then life did that thing that life did. Yeah, it constantly changed. You continued to age. You got older. You got wiser. You started realizing that, if all a person valued you for was how they could objectify you, that wasn't enough. You started to realize that there was more to you than the superficial things that you maybe even made massive amounts of money doing. And you went deeper. What you didn't know, or are just now beginning to realize, is all of that was just a sexy costume. And, really to some extent, being 18, being 21, whatever, being 25, again, you could pick whatever perfect age was for you. For me, really, honestly, it was probably somewhere between 30 and 35. Although I was a really cool 18-year-old, I was really in my element right around 35. Had a really cool business I was running, all kinds of cool stuff going on. And whatever that age is, that doesn't really matter. The thing you have to look at is, when we look back at that person, that 18-year-old, that 25-year-old, that 35-year-old, whatever, what we need to see is the sexy costume they were actually wearing. We need to take a moment and remember all of those secret doubts and fears that they had, while the world was telling them that they were incredibly amazing and that they could do no wrong and that they were beautiful or they were brilliant, or, all of the things that the world piles on top of you that we then wrap our self-esteem up in, that has nothing to do with how incredibly cool you are. And so we came to that moment a couple of days ago where we just decided to run naked in the streets. Again, as my disclaimer, this is not me telling you to actually literally take your clothing off and run naked in the streets, okay? This is metaphorical, as in being the real, true, genuine, total you, okay? Just want to make sure, again, I don't want any calls from somebody saying, well, Steve said I should just run naked in the streets. All right? No, please. Thank you. All right? But by being willing to just take off the costume. Sure, you can wear the makeup as war paint or a shield, or you can wear the makeup as something that makes you feel good about you. My good friend Judy, I invited her to come on. You can see that she's one of the people I invited when I did my invites at the beginning, while I'm, rambling about who I am, like anybody cares. You do. I know you do. I remember her telling me a story of getting to the place because of the abuses in her life. And this is all part of what's going to come out in her book. So I'm not telling stories behind her back. These are all things that she's been very vulnerable about sharing. Getting to the point where she could get completely dressed, do her hair, her makeup, all of those kind of things, and never have to look in a mirror. And a lot of times, that's what that sexy costume was. It was to get us to a place where if we caught a glimpse of ourselves in the mirror, it didn't create instant revulsion to us. It was all for us. It was never for the person you were meant to serve. The person you were meant to serve wouldn't care if you had, the latest zit popping out on your face. Your hair was, I was looking at a video I did the other day, and I loved some of the clips, and so I kept them. But I was like, man, my hair was just going crazy. What the heck, dude? I'm glad I got my hair cut because, it really needed it. The flip side to that is I have a picture that I've been using a little bit lately. It's on one of my YouTubes. I have two of them. Some of you know. If you don't know, there's the Steve Kid that is where this one is, this long one is. And then there's also Ask Steve Kid on YouTube. That's where all my shorts are. And one of the two of those, I think it's the Ask Steve Kid one. I've got a picture of me just out on my front porch here, just kind of hugged up next to one of the 4x4s is really what it is. And I really kind of like it. Even though when I look at it and I critique it and get all up in my head, I'm like, well, you should have shaved before you taken that picture. And oh, look at how your hair was, long and kind of popping up at the back. And yet, the more I look at it, the more I also see it's like, can I see the good parts of me? My eyes are really opened. I've always been told, and they're just my eyes, so I've never really seen it. Although I've come to to understand it because, I've heard it enough times. I've had people tell me that I have very beautiful eyes, that I have, as many people have said it, enchanting eyes. So it was nice to see in that picture. My eyes were open and you could actually see them. Versus sometimes when I smile, I squint a little bit and then you can't see my eyes. And it's like, well, if they are as beautiful as people tell me they are, then, people want to see them. And I have a nice, really casual smile in that picture. It's kind of more that calm confidence versus a big, kind of looking grin, right? And it's when we can get to the place where we can just go out on our front porch. In this case, I am talking literally and not metaphorically, though it could be metaphorical. And just pick up our phone and go, picture of ourselves. Yeah, now most of your phones, you can get it. You can actually set your phone so it can make that old camera clicky sound. So you can feel like you're really taking pictures and you're a professional photographer. But you take the picture of yourself. Just happy to be alive. Just glad to be here. And that's pretty amazing too. You see, the freedom first has to be the freedom in you. It has to start inside of you. If you're all tied up in knots and you're all dressed up in a sexy costume and what you're really telling yourself is how horrible you are. You get stuck in that message. Sorry about that momentary break there for water. You get stuck in the message of all the negative stuff about you. And as we were talking about a couple of days ago, as the book of affirmations tells us, your brain gives you all the reasons why all those things you're saying about you are true. And so then it just reinforces and it gets more and more and more. And you get to that place where you never really see how amazingly cool and powerful you are because you're always telling yourself about all the less than. You see somebody did whatever. Steve went on and Steve did a 30 to 40 minute live. And oh my gosh, Steve, how can you every single day go live? And what you don't know is secretly I'm going, oh my gosh, Steve, why do you ramble so much? We compare ourselves to something that's totally not real. And we end up robbing us and the world of what's truly, really, really, really real. And so, first of all, I applaud you for taking the sexy costume off and just showing up today as you. And I apologize for whatever this weird thing in my throat is. Ugh. Okay. It's been one of those kind of things, you know. We've had a fun journey here on our lives, haven't we? Steve has sneeze fits. Steve chokes to death. You know, I mean, just do it all live, right? And when you get to the place where you can just enjoy that level of vulnerability, you can just be, hey, this is me. This is who I am. And I don't totally like the phrase take it or leave it, but that's the only phrase that really comes to my mind right now. And here's why. Because you can only be you. It's all you can be. As much as you may want to be insert whoever, you're never going to be them. You can outshine them. You can admire them. But you've got to be them. And if you're emulating them, you're never going to show up as who you are. What I really want you to do is fall in love with you and see that amazing stuff that's you. So we take the sexy costume off. Now we're running around naked in the streets emotionally. And the vulnerability begins to show up as value because we begin to hear words coming out of our own mouth. Remember, I told you, our clarity starts by our own ears hearing our own mouth saying things, and some of them click. It's becoming for me more and more fun to come up with titles. I've really been enjoying them, in case you didn't notice it, with the snarkiness of both my titles here as well as a few of the titles that I've done on my shorts this week. Because I'm getting to the place where I'm really loving my own personal snark. And I was working on titling for a talk that I'm doing in December in Utah. And actually, I do have 2 tickets that are available for it. If you're interested in that, feel free to send me a direct message. It's actually called Align. It's an alignment intensive. So it's not, we're not going low end on this. We're going to go deep, deep, deep with you in this event in December. And I'm so honored to be part of the group of, there's about 5 or 6 of us that are going to be in that group talking to you for those couple of days. And it's a little bit more expensive of an event than normal, but I've got a couple of tickets and I can get you a really, really, really great deal on them. If you're interested, let me know. That wasn't intended to be a shameless plug for that, but it came up. And if you want to know how you get to that place, that's why you need to drop the word clarity. See, I'm trying to learn from what both my coaches as well as ChatGPT are telling me about how to be able to, put these kind of things in here. All right. So drop the word clarity in the comments or in a direct message to me, and let's get you clear so that you can be invited to be on stages like I'm being invited to do. I've got about 3 or 4 or 5 different, actually speaking engagements that I've already got booked for, essentially the 12 months beyond now. Really doesn't start until December right now. But as I was crafting the title for that, though, I began to, because the more ChatGPT or any other AI that you use on a regular basis will learn you and understand your style, and you can, seed it with the right, because it's all about the data set. The more that it has the right data, the better it can give you the stuff out. And I found myself beginning to use and started now to hear, I've used this phrase enough that ChatGPT is starting to reflect the phrase back to me. It needs to have the Steveness in it. and to embrace who I am. You see, I'm on this journey with you. I may be, if you started today, a couple of months ahead of you. And yeah, I've got, 58 years of my life being on stage and doing all the other things that I've done. And so I'm not saying you have to immediately tomorrow go live and be able to do 30 minutes of random rambling that hopefully will land for some and will miss for others. But as I embrace who I am, I'm able to come and be more impactful to who you are. You, the person that I'm really meant to serve. And the same is true with you. The more you just run around naked in the streets, again, metaphorically, with that sexy costume off, just being you, raw and real and vulnerable and valuable. And when you tell people about the massive flub ups you've done, when you choke and cough and have to drink water, or you have a sneezing fit and all you can do is just sneeze over and over and over again. The people that love you and are waiting for what you are saying for them, and I know some of you are in that boat. You're like, yeah, Steve, just pitch us. Tell us what we can do. We want to work with you. I know you're there. And I know I'm really bad at it. And I'm working on that. And I apologize. Because the heart and soul and core, if you read my book, How Can I Help You Today? The heart and soul and core of me is a giver. It's hard for me to think in the lines of, and then I need to transition to the point where I'm making sure that I make a 3-point offer to you and pitch you perfectly clearly. I'm really not good at that. And the irony to that is I'm actually a really great salesperson, a really great closer. But I had to learn, this was a hard transition for me. It was really fun too, but I had to learn that the reason why I was great at closing was because I was great at listening. And I was great at conversation. The reason why you're having problems closing sales is because you ask a person a question and then they don't answer that question and you don't feel comfortable making them answer the question you asked. That's not lack of integrity. That's not some kind of what we once called tin men, the guys that were going door to door selling siding back in the 70s. That's not one of those scammy used car salesman techniques. It's about really truly understanding conversation and having the integrity to have a real conversation with a person. Not that their segue or their attempt to distract you isn't valid and you have to completely ignore it. But you need to, when you're driving the car, have the confidence of where you're going. Many people, and just about everybody that I interview is like, how was my interview? And what I'm always trying to tell people when they're being interviewed is, you need to know the map. You need to have the formula and the format for exactly what your talk is, because you're going to get interviewed by people who are amazing interviewers. And I've had people tell me I'm an amazing interviewer. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. For me, it's a matter of listening and then asking a question based on what they just said. To me, talk about that book that you're never even thinking about writing because it's so easy for you. You never even thought about it. Okay, all 10 fingers pointing back at me. Okay, Steve, maybe you need to write a book on how to really actually interview somebody, how to listen and then ask a question based on what they just said versus, they sent you a sheet that has 5 completely disparate different questions that have nothing to do with what they said before. And when they answer that question, take a deep breath and then ask them something that has nothing to do with what we were just talking about. Right? But you, as the person being interviewed, you need to know that roadmap. If you are driving from here to the other side of the country, you left New York City and you were going to drive to Los Angeles, and you had made that trip 100,000 times, And the person riding in the seat with you had never left New York City. They had never been out of the city, let alone the state. And they're like, I think you should turn right. You should turn right up here. Or I think maybe you should turn around and go the other direction. And they're not looking at a map. They don't have GPS up on their phone. They're just having a feeling, and they feel like you should turn right. That's not going to help. You need to, when you're being interviewed, you need to know where your destination is. It starts with, hi, I am, and this is who I am. And it ends with, normally it's a free gift. Here's what I've got to offer you. This is the end point. This is the next thing for you, the listener, to be able to get to do with me so we can continue a connection. Oh, there it goes again, the 3 C's. Clarity, consistency, connection. Connection is really, it should really probably be the other way around, shouldn't it? It really probably should be connection, consistently, clarity. But the other way sounds better. Okay? And because most people know that what they need is clarity, and they don't really understand consistency or connection until I show them. Your connection is your heartbeat. You need to want to connect with the people. Your consistency is how your heartbeat shows up in the world. If you're doing it all the time, if it is who you are, if you, like me, are a giver by nature, you're just giving. You're giving to the point where sometimes God, the universe, everything has to come together and be like, no, you can't give anymore. Here, have nothing, so you have nothing to give away. And you have to learn how to be able to make your yes, yes, and your no, no, versus just having everything always be, oh yeah, here you go. And that's the freedom that you get when you connect, when you do it consistently, and you begin to discover the beautifully delicious clarity that comes from just being vulnerable, just having the mask off. What you discover is what you thought was the most terrifying thing that would ever be was actually where freedom really came. Bringing us all the way back around to where we started. You were sure that being naked in the streets was going to be the most terrifying thing you ever did. But the truth of the matter is the more you do it, the more you're actually discovering just how free being just who you are is, and just sharing that with the world. If this has really impacted you on a gut level, if you're like, I like that, or I wish I had that, or I want more of that, then I encourage you right now, drop the word clarity. Drop the word clarity in the comments. Drop the word clarity in a direct message to me. I mean, if you're just gung-ho and you're just ready to go to AskSteveKid.com. That goes straight to my calendar. Jump on my calendar and let's talk about it. You need that clarity. And the clarity is the thing that you need the help, the teaching, the insight on. We can get you there really clear. You have the ability to take the costume off. You have the heart to want to connect. You can connect on a consistent basis. I just need to come to just give you that little that's going to turn everything all around. The greatest changes in life don't come from doing a 180. They come from doing a 1 degree. That 1 degree shift makes all the difference in the world. And if you feel that on a gut level, then please do drop the word clarity. Let's get you visible today. Let's make you more valuable than you ever could imagine. And let that visibility create a level of freedom that you've never even conceived of before. I'm excited for you to take that journey. I want to be a part of that with you. I celebrate you. I, in fact, delight in you. And I'm so impressed and proud of all the things that you are and you did. Patricia, I apologize. I appreciate all of the comments you made, and I apologize for not having commented on all of them. Thank you all for showing up. Whether you're live like Patricia was on the replay or you're on the replay, I'm grateful for you. And I hope until we're together again next time, you do drop the word clarity like right now, and you have a great week.